All righty. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is having a lovely Tuesday. I am here with Stacy, and tell me if is it Valancy? Am I saying
Yeah,
it right?
exactly.
Okay. Stacy Valancy, very fancy, very cool last name. And we are hanging out today, guys. We're going to be talking about resumes, career coaching, job development, tips and tricks, stuff like that. So just going to be a great chance for you guys to get to know Stacy. I know her through Growth Academy, and then just hopefully get some valuable content that you can take home, job seekers, and apply. So let's get started. Stacy, you want to tell everyone who may not know you, my audience, a little bit about you, like where you come from, where you used to work before. How did you get to where you are now in your coaching career?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jennifer, so much for having me on today. So basically, I am a Florida girl, born and raised, grew up in South Florida, went to school at the University of Florida, so I've never ventured too far. But I ended up in Miami. And in terms of where I ended up professionally, I've always been into sales. So ever since I was 16, I had my first job selling beauty supplies products at a store nearby. From there, I sold coupons in a coupon book. I sold apartments. I helped to sell houses. Eventually, someone found me to be a recruiter, which I thought was selling careers. So I thought that would be awesome. But what I learned is it's so much more than that. So while I was recruiting for Northwestern Mutual, which is a Fortune 100 company, I found so many awesome people who were struggling to land any job, whether they were a good fit for what I had or not, because of their resume skills or their interview skills. So I decided to switch sides, quit my job, quit my nice corporate world job, went back, got my MBA, and now I own my own business, Next Level Career Coach, where I help people get where they want to go.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so I have to ask, is there anything you miss about corporate life, or is it all positive being your own boss and running your own business now?
Being my own boss, positive. Running my own business, positive. Wearing pajamas all day, positive. But I think the thing, if anything, that I miss is the human interaction. So of course, I talk with clients all day, or potential clients, or even friends and family over the phone and email, whatever it is. But because I work totally from home and it's just me right now, I haven't scaled up yet. I think that like bumping into somebody in the hallway, asking how their morning's going, it's kind of a little funky working from home. You know, you don't have those other people you run into.
Right. No, I totally get that. I see what you're saying, like missing out on that sort of like collaborative piece. And of course you can do that outside through, LinkedIn, Growth Academy and things like that. But it's not always quite the same unless you're, working on a project together or something like that. So totally get you. My fiance and I we're both working from home for Google right now. And we run into each other in the hallway all the time and joke about it. So totally get that. But so in starting the next level career coach, can you tell me a little bit more about building that out and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I realized that needed to happen is the resume. So I always say that the resume is the most important financial document you'll own. If it doesn't work, neither will you. So what I started doing when I launched my business is I was basically just doing resumes. I was kind of like a resume farm, if you will. If people would come to me, I would change it up for them, give it to them, and then kind of send them on their way. And over time, because this has been a lot of growth and a lot of growing pains, in addition to growing excitement, I started building everything out. So I started realizing, wait, people needed help with the interview session too. And some people don't know how to send follow-up emails or how to network now through LinkedIn in this crazy time we are in right now. So over time, I've grown my business just to be from just resume, which I do offer, to basically helping people get from point A to point B. So if you have a goal career in mind, whether it's leveling up, moving into management, executive, whatever it might be, or pivoting to a new career, that's kind of where I come in, and I can do as much or as little as you need essentially to help you get there.
Wow. No, that sounds great. So in regards to the resumes then, because I'm sure you've seen quite a few and worked with quite a few, for the job seekers out there, what would you say are some of the most like common mistakes you see?
Great question. So I know everyone's seen that stat that it's like recruiters only spend an average of 6 to 7 seconds on a resume. But really, they only spend a 6 to 7 seconds on the resume before they decide if they want to keep reading or move on. So I think that that's an interesting point. So a couple of really like easy kind of changes to make. First and foremost is the header that you have on the resume. Make sure that mirrors what you're looking for. I work with people all the time who make their header something like operations management, and they're really targeting a project manager role. So whatever it might be, make sure that aligns. And then the other big tip I would say is this is your chance to show the recruiter, the hiring manager, your proof of success. What makes you different and what makes you stand out? So instead of, increased revenues, okay, increased revenues by 100% or generated $100,000 in new revenues, prove or show versus just telling.
Right. You have to have that data and that impact. I always feel like I sound like a broken record when I'm telling people that, but I'm like, it's so critical. You need to have like quantifiable metrics all over that thing and try to, work your soft skills in when you can as like action verbs and things like that.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Absolutely crucial when it comes to resumes. So besides that, so you do interview prep as well. What kind of other services do you offer? You're more like, do you do small packages, or is it really just like a full service? You like to take clients all the way through the process?
So I'm actually revamping what I'm doing right now, but it is similar to what I have. So essentially it's kind of, I would say 3-tiered. So the first step is like, we could just work together and just do a resume and cover letter, and then you're good to go. Then the next step is resume, cover letter, mock interview, and I'm there to answer some email questions for you when it comes to sending thank you notes, how often you should follow up, best practices for what to wear in an interview, whatever kind of questions come up. And then the third package, which I'm actually rolling out hopefully by the end of this week, is to be a full service package that includes LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn profile updates, as well as strategies for how to kind of circumvent the online application system, get around the competition, and try to get referrals into a company when possible. So again, you can either just do a little bit more or the whole 9 yards with me.
I love that. You gotta offer different tiers for different job seekers. We all have different needs. So I like that you're keeping that in mind when it comes to people. So back to the resumes a little bit more. Would you say, and I mean, I can chime in on this as well, but would you say that there is a quote unquote more traditional way to do a resume now? Or do you think it is, what am I trying to say? More dependent on like specific type of roles? Do you understand what I'm trying to?
Yeah, I definitely get what you're trying to say. And I know as a recruiter, we see all sorts of everything from the one-page snapshot to the one that looks like it was made in some sort of a graphic design school, all the way down to a functional resume, a traditional resume. There's so many things out there. So when it comes down to the resume, I would say that there's definitely certain caveats that work for certain industries better, or for different levels of your career. For example, if you're more an executive, instead of maybe having in those area of expertise or core competency section, maybe having a career highlights or career accomplishments, a couple of ways to kind of get more information in. Whereas if you work in maybe graphic design or event planning, you could use a color. Now, don't go crazy and use the whole, gambit of the rainbow over here, but having an accent color on a resume is okay. So I think that there's adjustments that can be made based off the level of your career and the industry, but overall the theme is really the same. You want to make it clear and easy to read, because the whole point of the resume is to get past the ATS system, excite the human reader who's reading your resume, and get them to call you for an interview. So you want it to be clear, concise, and show your proof of success. Right.
No, I couldn't agree more. And what's your opinion on that regard in regards to one-page resumes? How do you feel about that rule? I feel like it's outdated, and that's usually what I tell people, because personally, I can tell you most of the resumes I read every day are not one page.
Yeah.
But that's my personal opinion. I'd love to hear what your take on that is.
Absolutely. So now, like according to best practices, like the National Resume Writer Association and all these kinds of things, they're saying that as long as you have 3 to 5 years minimum of good experience worth noting, you can move to a 2-page resume. I firmly believe that if you can get the information that you need to get onto 1 page, good for you. But there's a good chance that if you have 10 years of working experience, if you have a 1-page document, it's not going to be doing you justice. It's going to be missing too many things. And I know you want it to be a snapshot, but you're going to end up missing too much. So I would say for most people, a 2-page resume is the way to go. Don't go more than 2 pages. That just nobody's reading these 7-page documents anymore unless it's a CV, which is a whole different story. But definitely a 2-page document is the way to go.
No, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Do you offer work on CVs? Is that something that you specialize in as well, or is it just like mainly like resume focused?
Yes. So I actually do have kind of like a side package. I've worked with a lot of people that have been applying for medical school, dental school, postgraduate dental school, nursing school, and MBAs. And those are, there's a million other kind of graduate programs, but those are the ones that I have the most experience in. So for those people, I actually have experience writing CVs as well as helping in personal statements. So it's not the focus of what I do, but it is something that I offer and something that I do have expertise in. So I'm always open to helping people with that too.
Okay, great. Well, I can send some people your way. I definitely consider myself more of like a resume expert, not as much with like the international CVs because they're like a whole different ball game, you know?
Well, not the international, just people applying for
medical. Okay.
So graduate school. So I only work with US-based candidates applying for US-based jobs because those are the best practices I'm most familiar with. But when it comes to postgraduate school, then you need a CV usually instead of a resume.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And now we have a question from Carl. He said, what advice do you offer for a job you're sure you fit well for, but they have a lengthy application process?
Great question, Carl. That comes up a lot. I was actually just working with somebody who went through this. It was a whole online application process, and then it was 5 rounds of interviews. I would say definitely just fill it out, persevere, do what you can. But if you know that you're a good fit and you can kind of show it and prove it, it also doesn't hurt that while you're filling out this application process or going through the interviews to send an email to somebody or to reach out to a connection, find a referral, and kind of make sure that you get above everyone else who's also filling out this application or interviewing in the process.
Right. Yeah, you definitely need to try to get ahead while you can, especially in this job market. It's not the best right now. Very cutthroat. Lots of people looking for jobs.
Yes.
So Stacy, what would you say? I know we talked about like the top 3 common mistakes. So kind of on the opposite end of that, what would you say, not looking at anyone's resume right now, what are like the top 3 things people could do to polish their resumes? Like what makes them better? Some improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 1 would be to make sure that it's clean and easy to read. So these blocks of text that are super long are just overwhelming. If you have bullet points that run 3-4 lines down, those are overwhelming. So kind of just cleaning it up, focusing on concision and clarity. So that would definitely be number 1. Number 2, as I mentioned earlier, you have to show proof of success. So if you have any way to even guesstimate your impact, instead of leading a team, led 5 people, whatever it is, I would definitely say try to quantify when possible. And then number 3 is just to make sure that your resume is aligning with the types of jobs you're looking for. So that goes double for people that are looking to pivot careers, that are looking to shift from one industry to another or one type of role to another. But make sure that if every job you're reading says, we're looking for somebody organized with attention to detail, you got to make sure that the words organized and attention to detail are in your resume. So definitely showing alignment is the 3rd thing.
Yes, absolutely critical, guys. You have to, tailor your resume to the job description. I say it all the time. ATS is going to pick that up. I'm trained to pick that up. If it says operations manager, I'm looking to see that in your resume. So it's vital that you match those things. So we actually have a few more questions. So Christopher wants to know, how important is a cover letter in the US? And then also he was wondering about visa sponsorships, if you work with anyone like that.
Great question, Christopher. So I'll kind of answer your second question first. So it depends on who I work with when it comes to the visa sponsorship. I'm open to working with people who are US based candidates or who have lived in the US, who have experience kind of working here, not when it's your first job coming over here. But I definitely am open to working with people. I've worked with a ton of people who started in the US and maybe moved abroad and came back, things like that. And when it comes with the sponsorship, it's going to be a decision for the company, I guess. So they could say that they're offering it or say that they're not offering it. But if you do need sponsorship, I would say that in the cover letter. But I would make sure that you make yourself the standout candidate, be the number one person, and then you can mention that you need the sponsorship. But that way, they're so hooked on you that they're willing to kind of go for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree as well. So how important would you say a cover letter is for applications?
This is like a very tough question for me to answer because I have a lot of recruiter friends that there's a very big divide. Some people see the cover letter as just showing that you did the work, you put in the effort, and now they're going to move your application through the process. Some people do look at the cover letter as the deciding factor on if they're going to move forward for the interview. So what I would say is you don't know which recruiter you're dealing with. So I would make sure that you write a cover letter. It needs to be short, though, nowadays, kind of a little bit longer than maybe what you put in an email, and just give yourself that edge to kind of stand out amongst the other applicants.
Right. And what would you recommend? What information would you recommend people include in the cover letter?
Yeah. So in the cover letter, I always say the way to do this is kind of a 3-paragraph format. First paragraph is showing alignment. You're looking for this. I have this. Like, come on, we should be friends. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're looking for a detail-oriented operations manager, and that's me.
Right.
The second paragraph is a little bit proof of success. So I always say, my expansive record of success includes, or I began my career doing this, and then I moved up to doing this. So I have experience across the organization, managing different teams, whatever it is, kind of showing a little bit of your background and history of success. And then the third paragraph is just your statement of interest. I'm really interested in moving forward in this process. I've included my resume. Here's the best phone number to reach me at. I look forward to hearing from you. So definitely showing alignment, proof of success, and then statement of interest.
Love it. Love it. Great tips, guys. I hope y'all are taking notes. These are the secrets. And Pallavi would like to know, what are some advice you would give someone who wants a career in people operations?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people make transitions to human resources or people operations management, which there's the lines kind of blurring a little bit on these, same with organizational development. That's all being rolled in. But what I would say is I'm not really sure what you're pivoting from, but whatever you're trying to do, if you're trying to get into people operations, you have to show that you have operations management and leadership kind of experience, making things better, change management. But overall, you want to show your passion for people. The whole reason that you become an HR leader or a people operations manager is because you like helping people improve and train and develop and grow and building teams and all that kind of stuff. So I would definitely say show your past experience and how it aligns, but also show your passion for people and why you want to be in this role.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. I love that. And keep your questions coming, guys. We're probably going to be here for about another 10, 15 minutes. So more than happy to answer some more questions for you all. So Stacy, in regards to your business and your coaching, what are your goals? Like, where do you see that going in the future?
Yeah. So I'm kind of at that point. I know that, we keep talking, it's November now. Everyone needs to plan for the next year and kind of, make your plan, work your plan. So in terms of where I see Next Level Career Coach going, I definitely see myself expanding and getting some additional resume writers at least on board, hopefully in the near future. I want to make sure that they're certified professional resume writers, preferably from some sort of an HR recruiting background to maintain the quality. But I see myself more handling those coaching calls, the mock interview sessions, things like that. So I see myself growing, but not growing to be this multi, whatever, where I have 25 resume writers and things like that, because I want to keep it more hands-on and provide that individual approach to each person that reaches out to me.
No, I love that. I would agree that that's kind of how I'm trying to scale out my business as well. I think you develop better relationships, you can get more hands-on, be more personable, and truly dig into more of like what makes you tick and unique, and try to, make that shine in people's resumes. So love that.
Absolutely. It's hard to scale up though, because it's hard to kind of, find somebody that has that same kind of passion as you. But that's why I'm definitely looking for somebody, a certified professional resume writer, somebody with a recruiting or HR background. And hopefully I will find this magical unicorn that gets along with me really well next year is my goal, to kind of bring somebody else on and onboard them into my process.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, well, we have a couple more questions here. Thanks, guys. Let's get them over to Stacy. So, Stacy, what advice would you give someone who has worked for themselves and for companies? The resume can look erratic, but it's full of different contracts. Is this off-putting for recruiters when trying to apply for an in-house job?
Okay, this is a great question, Simone. I work with people like this all the time who, whether they launched their own business and are coming back, or if they had a bunch of side hustles going, that's cool too. A lot of project-based consultants or engineers that work on a short-term contractual role. It's totally fine to have a bunch of listings. However, it's important that you tell your story strategically. So you don't want to look like a hopper, but it's not your fault because everything was different contract-based roles or things you started on your own. So it's all about how you tell your story. So completed a 6-month contract doing XYZ. So that automatically alerts to the reader that you had a contract-based role and that you didn't just kind of jump and jump, or launched own business on the side and worked part-time doing XYZ. So I think you don't want to hide anything that you've done, especially if it's relevant. You just want to tell your story strategically to let the reader know why each thing lasted for however long it lasted for.
No, I think that's a great point. How do you feel about that, like kind of sparked for me, like skills resumes? Would that be something that you recommend for people, like chronological versus more of a skills-based resume? Do you think that that would help in situations like this?
So I personally am not a big proponent of the skills-based or the functional resumes. I think traditional resumes are better for kind of 2 reasons. One, they can be parsed by ATS system. So boom, like if you have a skills resume or functional, you might run into that problem where when it gets parsed, it's just a mess. And then recruiters might not take the time to kind of sift it out. The other thing is, just like I mentioned, it's all about telling your story. So even if it is chronological, if you keep them small, maybe only 2 or 3 bullet points under each one, but telling the reason why you went from one to the other, to the other, to the other, I think would just help your case.
No, yeah, I think that that is great advice. And from my own recruiting standpoint, I will, add as well that I'm not the biggest fan of functional or skills resumes either, simply because on my end, it can make it difficult for me to tell how long you performed a specific job function. If you're listing all of your skills up top and then just the years you worked at a particular place, I may not be sure how many years you did project management. And if I'm looking for someone who did 8 years of project management and I can't tell that, I unfortunately am not going to be able to move you forward in the process. So definitely agree with you in that regard. Okay, another question. How to put the thing on my resume that you have personally worked a lot upon, but don't really have a degree/company experience for that. How to express in one line about that? Seems to me more like projects or like extra stuff, and like kind of how to show that on a resume, I guess.
So I guess if I understand this question correctly, if you don't have your degree or direct experience of something, but you have experience in it, there must be some way to kind of show alignment. So maybe you completed a project in school about it, if you were a recent grad or graduated with a postgraduate degree, or maybe there's some way you can kind of show alignment. So, for example, maybe if you have leadership experience, but you weren't a manager title, maybe there's a bullet point you can add that you trained and mentored other coworkers or other interns in your company. So any way you can kind of sneak in things you've done in like the bullet points or in any sort of the executive summary at the top to show that you do have experience in that would definitely help, whether you have your degree in that or a title in that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Icarus wants to know, how do you follow up on LinkedIn? So it's a networking question.
Yes. So networking through LinkedIn is very strategic, and it's an ever-changing thing. I would definitely say following up on LinkedIn the best way. Some people don't use LinkedIn as often as you might, just as a little tidbit. So some people are only checking their messages, let's say, once a week versus every day. So I would definitely say following up on LinkedIn, send them a message, give them a day or two to respond, and then kind of sending a nice, something that you might send in an email like, hey, Stacy, I'm not sure if you received my other messages. I'm sure you're super busy. Would you have any chance this week to hop on a quick call just for about 10 minutes so we could chat about the job posting or whatever, your company that you work for, and then kind of give them some options, maybe Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, which would work better for you. So I would definitely say follow up, but also give people a little bit of grace because you don't know how often they're on the platform.
Right. No, that's crucial. Yeah, following up is great. And another question from Ada. As a mid-level manager applying for a role, if I am missing a technical, like a program skill that they're looking for, is it okay to highlight my eagerness to learn that skill, or should I not apply for that position?
I love this question. I actually just completed a mock interview with somebody where I asked them if they had a skill and they had to tell me no because I knew they didn't have it. And we talked about how to overcome this obstacle. So I would definitely say highlight everything else. So if you have 99% of the things they're looking for, or even less, apply for the job. Even if you're missing that one technical program, it's totally okay. I would put in your resume and your cover letter things like you're a quick learner, you're pretty tech savvy, kind of trigger words that let the reader know that you are open to learning these or kind of can learn anything rather quickly. And then then apply for the job because you have everything else for it. But then when you get to the interview, then you can absolutely mention, I've always been really interested in learning about Salesforce, for example. My company uses PeopleSoft, which I have experience learning. I hear that they're similar platforms. I'm a quick learner. I love technology, and I'm ready to get started in that platform. So you can kind of overcome that obstacle right away.
Right. No, great question, Ada. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And Simone says, thank you. Yes, she stopped doing the skills-based resume to clarify that confusion. So good call, Simone. We're not a fan of that, so we would agree with you. And another question, what are your thoughts on the transferable skills for senior level positions? How important is it?
So do you think that they're talking about the areas of expertise section or just in transferable skills in general?
I like transferable skills in general. Feel free to clarify whoever this is, but yeah, I guess we'll just talk about transferable skills in general.
So in general, transferable skills are super important. So whether you're like leveling up to a senior level position, pivoting careers, changing industries, changing roles, whatever it is, you always want to show any sort of interpersonal skills or experience that you have. Because again, even if it's not directly related to that, you could show that you could handle that role. So for example, if you have experience finding ways to increase the bottom line, whether it's negotiating vendor contracts or whatever it might be, and you know that in your next role, you're going to be responsible for the bottom line or profitability in general, you definitely want to show that you have experience in that, and that you could do that in your future. So that goes for interpersonal skills as well, problem solving, communication, organization, collaboration, all the skills that you essentially need to be a senior level leader.
Gotcha. Well, we only have about 2 minutes left, guys. I want to be conscious of Stacy's time. She's a busy woman with lots to do. So no more questions that I'm seeing. But Stacy, what would you like to leave us with? I guess, feel free to plug a little bit more about what you do, or maybe some final words for job seekers in this market out there and how they can make themselves stand out.
Yeah. So I would definitely say, if you ever want to have a conversation with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, go to my website, nextlevelcareercoach.com. I'm always open to having just a 15-minute conversation with anyone to give a little feedback on their resume, talk about what I do, talk about your goals, and then if we work together, great. If not, hopefully that information will at least help you. So I'm always open to a quick call. But in this market, things are crazy. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. The hiring process has definitely changed. The networking process has definitely changed. And I would just say that your mindset is huge right now. So stay positive, stay persistent, and persevere to get where you want to go.
Yeah, no, that's great. And yes, guys, this video is being recorded. You can find this on my page. I will tag Stacy in the video so you all can connect with her. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. We met through Growth Academy. It's a great program, for growing your brand. So please connect with us in that regard and have a fabulous week, guys. Let's kill it out there. Have a great day.